some question. Okay, I need to share the screen. All right. Okay, so I've shared the screen again and let's solve these questions. Okay, so obviously we are preparing for a test, we need practice. So, we have to practice questions, right? Right. And obviously, while doing questions, there would be some questions which you guys would not be able to understand that easily. So that is completely fine. This is the purpose of these classes, okay? All right. So the very first question is, if 3x plus 9 is 5x plus 1, what is the value of x? Okay, so this is a very simple question, right? Here, simply we need to just make x the subject of our equation. I'll take 1 to that side and I'll take 3x to this side. So I have 9 minus 1 equals 5x minus 3x. So like I have 8x equals, sorry, I have 8 equals 2x. Okay, so like D is the answer, right? Okay, now let's talk about the second question. And I want you guys to participate as well, okay? Because like you need to. Only then I would be able to know if you guys are able to understand anything or not. Okay, so the second question is, in the first term in the sequence above, this is the sequence, and the first term is 7. And each term after the first term is determined by multiplying the preceding term by m and then adding p. Okay, so it's neither arithmetic nor geometric. It's a different sequence. We have many types of sequences, but the most famous ones are, arithmetic and geometric. So in this sequence, they have defined it by saying that for every new term, what we do is we are multiplying the preceding term by m and then adding p. What is the value of m? Okay, so basically for getting 15, we are multiplying 7 by m and then we are adding 1 to get, sorry. We are adding p to get 15, right? So we multiplied 7 by m and added p to get 15. And then one way of doing is to just think about it, think, and okay, finally I know that yes, if I multiply 7 by 2 and if I add 1, I would get 15, right? But the other way is that, I'd just like the questions we were doing in the first part of this class, I told you that in SAT, students most of the times they think that the questions are logical, so they have to spend time in thinking. No, it is not like that. Every question can be solved through equations. Okay, you don't have time in SAT to think about something and waste your time. So like this is the first equation, and second equation can be made using 15 into m plus p would give you 31. Okay, now obviously if you solve these equations simultaneously, I agree in this case, it would take more time. And if you think of it directly, you would like this in this example, I agree, it is very clear that you multiply 7 by 2 and then you add 1. So like what is the value of m? The number which you're multiplying by 7 was m, that is 2 basically. So 2 is the answer. But in future and in other questions, you can spend some seconds for thinking, but if you are not able to get the answer, simply start working out the equations and start solving them. Okay. So in this case, if you solve this equation simultaneously, you would get 2 again, right? So is this part clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Okay, now we have third question, which says the tables above show the different colors and sizes of t-shirts that are available at Independence High School. Okay. How many different combinations of color and size are possible? All right, so I want you guys to give it a try. How do we do such questions? How many different combinations, right? Of what? Of color and size. So, like of color and size, we have 3 color options and we have 4 size options. So, you are going to get 12. Okay. Think of it this way, that you go to a shop and you like, a shirt which is in 2 colors. It's in green color and it's in blue color. And you have one size, that is small size. So how many options would you have? You will have a small shirt in green color and you will have a small shirt in blue color. So in total you have 2 options. You got this 2 how? By multiplying 2 into 1, right? Now if you had medium option as well, so like you can have a small shirt in green, a small shirt in blue, a medium shirt in green, and a medium shirt in blue. This time around, you're getting 4 options, right? Because you're multiplying 2 into 2. So here you have 4 sizes. So you have 4 here, and here you have 3 colors. So you like 3 here. And you have to multiply both these numbers, you'll get 12. So B is the answer. So, like, are you clear with this part?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please stop me there and then, okay? All right. Fourth question. Okay. Which of the following functions is f of minus 3 greater than f of 3? Right. Now, f of minus 3 and f of 3 basically means that you have 5 choices for your function, and you basically need to use minus 3 and 3 instead of x. Minus 3 and 3 instead of x. And this time around, it is a bit weird that they're saying f of minus 3 is greater than f of 3. So, like, this is very obvious. We know that it has something to do with the minus sign, right? Because that is the only case where we are going to add, like, minus and minus would make it plus, and we get the right answer, right? So, like, if we do it for this one, the answers would be same because, like, we have x square. So, minus 3 square and 3 square would be same. The answers would be same, and we have an inequality here. So A cannot be the choice. If I think of B option, that is 4. The answer is going to be same for f of minus 3 and f of 3. So again, this is not going to be an inequality, it would be an equation. So this cannot be the answer, right? If I think about this part, so I am going to get an inequality, but this time it would be this, right? So f of 3 is turning out to be greater than f of minus 3. But in the question, we want this. So if we think about D option, which I told you initially that it would have something to do with minus sign, because like this is only possible if this minus and some other minus are being multiplied to get positive, right? So if we think of this 4 minus minus 3, this is f of minus 3. That basically, this is cube here. So we are going to get 4 plus, I can take this minus out because I know my cubic answer is still going to have minus, right? Or maybe I can just write it with minus, just so things are clear, minus, and then I'll have minus 27. So this is going to give me 31. And if I do it for f of 3, I am going to get 4 minus 3 cubed. So this would be minus 23. So clearly f of minus 3 is greater than f of 3. I'm getting 31 for minus 3. I'm getting minus 23 for 3. So D is the answer. Right? Is this clear?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Let's talk about the fifth question now. Okay. So the force required to stretch a spring beyond its natural length is proportional to how far the spring is being stretched. Okay. So like the force is proportional to um how far the spring is being stretched. Okay. If a force of 15 pounds stretches a spring 8 centimeters beyond its natural length, right? So if I think of force and let's say distance here, so they're saying 15 pounds stretches a spring 8 centimeters beyond its natural length. Okay, what force in pounds is needed to stretch the spring 20 centimeters beyond its natural length? So we need to find force. This is the ratio which has been given, and we need to find this x. So for such questions, what we do is we simply cross multiply, right? So I am going to cross multiply this way. I will get 15 into 20 equals 8x. So x would be 15 into 20 by 8. So I'm going to get 37.5 equals x. So E is the answer. So is this question clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ishil, are you clear with this question?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have sixth question. So the sixth question is, if y is the midpoint of xz, xz is basically a line segment, which of the following must be true? Now before reading anything, let's just write down this let's just understand this. So xz is a line segment. Think of it as a line segment where this is x and this part is z, right? And here they're saying y is the midpoint of xz. So this is y, and this distance they must be same. Okay, so which of the following must be true? Yz is 1 by 2 xz. Yz is 1 by 2 xz. Yes, this is correct. Since y is the midpoint, so the distance of y to z is basically half the length of xz, right? So I is correct. Okay. And then the second option says 1 by 2 xz. Okay. Now we are on the second one, so let's just rub for the first one. Second one says 1 by 2 xz equals 2xy. Okay, that is not possible because like if we are saying half xz means this distance, right? Xy, and here they're saying 2 times xy. So 2 times xy is basically full xz, not half xz. So clearly this is wrong. This cannot be the choice. If this cannot be the choice, so this cannot be the answer, and this cannot be the answer, right? And one is correct so far. Okay. Let's talk about the third one. In the third one, they're saying 2 into xy, like this distance is basically xy, and 2 times this distance would give you xz, which certainly is correct, okay? Because y is the midpoint. If I multiply 2 with xy, I will get xz. So 1 and 3 are correct. So 1 and 3 are the right options. Okay, so E is the answer. So are you clear with this part?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I want you guys to try out the 7th question, please. I'll give you 2 minutes. It's very, very easy. You can do it in a minute, I'm sure.
See,
Okay, and what about you, Ishan?
Wait, I'm doing
Sorry?
I'm doing it.
Yeah, sure, sure.
See.
Very good, excellent. Okay. Very good, Zahib. Okay, let's talk about the 8th question then. Because like here clearly 5s and 5s are seen. So all we had to do is we need to write 2r equals 6t. We need r in terms of t, so r would be 6t by 2. That is 3t. Okay, so C is the answer. Very good. Okay, let's talk about the 8th question then. All right, so the question says a total of k passengers went on a bus trip. Okay, so total was k. Each of the n buses that were used to transport the passengers could seat a maximum of x passengers. Okay, so like total number of passengers was k, and we used n buses, and every bus was had the capacity of x passengers only, right? So that the maximum number of passengers which each bus could facilitate was x, right? So just be clear with what k is. K is total number of passengers, n is the total number of buses, and x is the total number or the maximum number of passengers which a bus can accommodate, right? If one bus had 3 empty seats and remaining buses were filled, okay? If one bus had 3 empty seats and remaining buses were filled, which of the following expresses the relationship among n, x, and k? Okay, all right. So total number of passengers is k, right? Okay. And how are they settled into n buses? Let's look into that. Okay. If one bus had 3 empty seats, forget about this one bus, and the remaining buses were filled. So remaining buses would be, if n was the total number of buses, remaining buses would be n minus 1. Like we're not talking about this one bus, we are talking about the remaining buses. So we will have n minus 1 into what? N minus 1 buses were filled. Filled means that the passengers could seat a maximum of x passengers, right? So like since every bus can facilitate x passengers only, except one bus where we had 3 empty seats, all the remaining buses were filled. Remaining buses would be n minus 1 and they were filled means that every bus other than that one bus had x passengers, and that one bus had x minus 3. Why? Because total capacity is of x and 3 seats were empty. So we are going to get x minus 3, right? So are you clear with this equation? And so this would be equal to the number of k passengers. So I repeat, in the question we have been told, we have been given with different variables k, n, x. We had to find the relationship. Fine, we can do that. K is the number of passengers which are going in total, right? Okay, let's keep this k on one side and forget about it. Each of the n buses, so passengers are going on n buses, okay? The number of buses is n, and in every bus, the passengers could seat a maximum of X passengers. Like the buses could accommodate X passengers only in each bus. So if one bus had 3 empty seats and the remaining buses were filled, remaining buses would be, total number of buses is n. Obviously, remaining would be n minus 1. If I forget about this one bus, I will have n minus 1 only, and they were filled. Filled means they are going to have maximum of x passengers. So I will have x here plus, I am going to write down the situation for that one bus. If one bus had 3 empty seats only, so if in total I can have x, I have to minus 3 because like only x minus 3 passengers are in that one bus, and this sum is basically going to give me the total number of k passengers, right? So I am going to get xn minus x plus x minus 3 equals k. X and x are cancelled, so this is xn minus 3 equals k. So A is the answer. So are you clear with this question now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Initial what? Okay, perfect. Excellent. Okay. All right. So I want you guys to try this question, ninth question. I'll read it with you. So we have like, okay, in the figure above, the line L, this line is parallel to this line. And like, you know, when we have two parallel lines which are cut by a third line, this line is called transversal, right? What is the value of x? You need to find this. So I want you guys to try this out. I'll give you 3 minutes.
Ma'am, the answer is A.
The answer is
A.
okay. And Zahib, what about you?
A.
Excellent. Excellent. Very well done. A is the answer. Very good. Perfect. Okay. Because this angle would be 100, right? And this angle would be 30. because sum of angles on a straight line is 180. And finally, if we think of this straight as a straight line, we are going to again use the same logic. Sum of angles in a straight line is 180. So 180 minus 30 is 150. So very well done. 9 is the answer. Okay, perfect. Let's do the 10th question then. All right. For what value of x is the statement above false? Okay. So like if we use the A option, that is -3, I know that this is going to be 3 into 9, and this is going to be 3 into 3 and then square, right? So obviously this side would be greater. So this is like correct. This would be true for x equals -3. So this means that A cannot be choice because we are looking for false. Let's think about B. If I use B, I am going to get 0 on both sides. When I have the same number, when I have the same amount on both sides, this cannot be an inequality. This would in fact be an equation, right? So here clearly B is the answer, because like when we're using B, this is not going to be true. It would be false because it would be an equation, not any inequality. So we are done with this. Okay. Now we have the 11th question, which says, Sinai customized her bicycle by exchanging the front wheel for a wheel that had one half the diameter of the back wheel. Okay, so like the back wheel would be bigger and the front wheel would be smaller. And if this has x diameter, this would have x by 2 diameter. Okay, one half means half. Okay, be very clear with this. One half does not mean 1.5, it means half. Students usually get confused with this term. Okay, one half is half, right? Now when Senai rides the bicycle, how many revolutions does the front wheel make for each revolution of the back wheel? Okay, so like this term basically means that she's riding a cycle, and how many times the front wheel is going to rotate for each rotation of the back wheel. Okay, take revolution as rotation, right? So are you clear with the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so like this is her cycle, right? Something of this type. And I know it's very funny, but that's okay. So we have like two wheels. This is the back wheel and this is the front wheel, right? And here they are saying that the diameter of the front wheel is one half the diameter of the back wheel. So if the diameter of back wheel is x, diameter of front wheel would be x by 2. We are talking about rotation, we're talking about revolution. So just think of it that this is your tire, and you rotate it completely. You start rotating it completely such that this point, like it rotates and you get back to this point again. This basically means that we're talking about the circumference of the circle. You're talking about the circumference of this tire, right? Do you understand why it's circumference?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Okay, so it's circumference. Let's just find the circumference of the back tire. It would be 2 pi x by 2, because r is x by 2. That is pi x. And if I talk about the front wheel, it is going to be 2 pi x by 4. So it would be pi x by 2. Right. Okay. So I am getting pi x for the back wheel, and I'm getting pi x by 2 for the front wheel. Now I need to find how many revolutions does the front wheel make for each revolution of the back wheel. Okay, so like after the revolution of back wheel, the circumference is pi x, we will cover pi x distance, right? But in this case, we will cover pi x by 2 till here. So to get till here, it is going to cover another pi x by 2, which basically means 2 revolutions, which basically means that C is going to be the answer. Are you clear with this part? Another way of thinking of it could be that you divide it. Pi x by pi x by 2. These two would be cancelled and this 2 would get here. So this is going to be 2. You can also do it this way. You can divide the circumference of the back wheel by the circumference of front wheel. Just because you know that the front wheel is smaller wheel, back wheel is the bigger wheel. So front wheel would rotate multiple times to cover the distance which the back wheel is covering in one rotation only, right? This is why since it is half, the diameter is half of front wheel and the diameter of the back wheel is like x. So we are going to get 2 in this case. So is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is perfect. So any questions which you would like to ask, like, from here, from these, the ones which we have done, any question, please ask me. Anything
No
about
questions
these
so far.
questions? And Zahib, the questions which we did for quiz, are you clear with those as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.